Davenport.
And I'm Mike Doherty.
And welcome to this week's episode, the third week of our show. And this past Monday, a CNN show, Parker Spitzer, the host interviewed Randy Barnett, who is a constitutional scholar, about a constitutional amendment that he has proposed. And we're gonna show you a little bit of how the exchange went and give our own input and give a little bit of straight talk and facts to what they're discussing here.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so why do we need a repeal amendment? Just explain that to us.
Well, originally in the original Constitution, states did have a formal role in checking federal power. It's when they selected senators. Senators were selected by state legislators, and with the enactment of the 17th Amendment, it ended that formal role, and as a result, federal power has no formal constraint on it. You have to rely entirely on the courts, and they haven't really done a very good job in doing it.
All right, so as you can see by that video, he talks about the 17th Amendment as being the amendment that takes the election of senators for the U.S. Congress to basically be, by the people instead of by the state legislature. So, Cal and I both agree, and I think it's pretty logical to say that you can't overturn the 17th Amendment.
Right. I don't think people are going to go for turning over their power to elect the senators back to the state legislature. So it's probably just, so if you ask why doesn't Barnett just say, let's repeal that amendment, it's probably just not viable. That this is actually a more politically possible alternative.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think ideally Barnett would probably like to repeal the 17th Amendment, but it's just not going to happen. He's a smart guy. He realizes that there's no future in that. And this isn't a new idea either. This idea of states being able to control the federal government. I mean, the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions go over this. The founding fathers had explored this way back in the day.
Right. They actually, the Adams administration, so this is second administration in our country's history, they had passed the Eliot and Sedition Acts, many parts of which were very onerous to free speech rights and such things. And so the legislatures in the states of Kentucky and Virginia drafted resolutions. It was actually James Madison and Thomas Jefferson who wrote these, that basically suggested that they wanted the states to actually consider the laws of the federal government null and void and override them, the Eliot and Sedition Act. So it wasn't such an, it's not really a completely new and out there idea for America. This was something that even people as high up as Madison and Jefferson were kind of toying with.
And then they go on to talk about some other things you'll see later on in the video here as we share what we have.
But as I understand it, the way your repeal amendment would work is that if 2/3 of states don't want a certain federal statute, then they can repeal it,
right,
according to the amendment.
If 2/3 of the states decide to repeal a particular law or regulation, then it will be repealed. But if Congress really wants that law, they can reenact it.
They can by a simple majority.
Right.
So if you can wouldn't we just be going back and forth all the time?
It actually amounts to a second look. It would require Congress to take a second look. Congress passes a lot of things as part of omnibus bills that they don't really pay close attention to, or sometimes maybe they just get off the rails politically. It doesn't happen very often, but it could happen. And in this case, if Congress really thinks they're right and the states are wrong, they can reenact.
So what Barnett is pointing out here is that there are a lot of things, little court deals and everything that might be shoved into omnibus bills, which are large spending bills that detail a lot of different things, and people don't have the time to pull these things apart when they first go to the floor of the Senate, and then they get passed, and then it's basically it's too late. It's there. This way it would amount, like he said, to a second look, and all the states can pull out things that they don't like,
such as let's see, funds for researching cocaine in monkeys.
Yeah, like what effect does cocaine have on?
Yeah, that was in the.
It was in the
Stimulus?
stimulus bill.
Yeah,
It was
stimulus.
actually allotted to Wake Forest University. They were gonna. It was something like $144,000 was for this research. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're all glad that your taxpayer dollars are going to that and for bridges to
I mean, I
nowhere
know
in
I'm interested
Alaska.
about it. It keeps me awake at night sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Roll over.
Just you got that pet monkey at home and want to find out if you need to get him some cocaine.
I've fed a cat beer before. That was pretty interesting.
All right.
All right.
Maybe they
Anyway,
should,
sorry.
they should research that too.
All right, and then like the bridge to nowhere.
Right, right.
The thing in Alaska.
I think
the bridge
everybody's
out
heard
to
about
the
that one by now, and
Yeah.
just all this this funding is really there's not really a any what's the word I'm looking for? There's no accountability for it. So
Mhm.
this might kind of be a way of doing that.
Yeah, it's a way to prevent people from slipping things in. If they do get slipped in, then they get caught.
But it looks like Spitzer's not exactly on board with that in this
No,
video.
no, he's not. All right.
Let's see what he says next.
Yeah.
Randy, really what's going on here is that you have drafted what you call a states' rights Bill of Rights, 10 amendments to the Constitution, the critical provisions of which would let states repeal congressional enactments, eliminate the income tax, and basically it would be a return to the Articles of Confederation, which was dysfunctional government. Now, there's no question it could be done. There's a constitutional mechanism for doing this, but wouldn't this just turn us into a dysfunctional set of 50 states without any coherent government? And if anything, today we need the capacity to act more quickly and with greater certainty in the world we live in.
Yeah, in that clip, Spitzer was very concerned about coherency and the possible issues with it that would come into play under Barnett's proposal. And I think his concern really isn't well founded, considering that there's other issues. If he's that concerned with Barnett's his proposal and the coherency involved, he should be concerned about other issues with coherency, such as presidential vetoes, Supreme Court rulings that can not only strike down laws but also set precedent for future lawmakers, future cases, that kind of thing. And there's the other part too, where there has to be 2/3 of the states involved in this for it actually to happen. That's 34 states, Gal, and I hope our viewers know that there's 50 states in the country. No, but that's,
Yeah, that was it.
it's quite a few of them to get on board there with that.
Right. So it's not something it's not going to just be a law's passed and then all of a sudden, like, just out of nowhere it's repealed or anything. I mean, obviously
Right.
we're gonna hear from these states about their concerns and everything. It's going to be debated, and even if it doesn't eventually get passed or the repeal gets passed, everybody's going to know about it.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a sneak attack. You know, it's not. Democrats aren't going to be. You know, if Democrats are concerned about this as a sneak attack way for Republicans to knock down health care, it's not going to happen.
They actually related to healthcare later on. But
They
before-
did, but it's not a sneak attack. You see, Cal. They're going to be like they go to bed one night, health care will be there, and the
Yeah,
next morning
okay.
it would be gone. Anyway.
Anyway, there was one quote or one statement that that Spitzer made about acting more quickly and with greater certainty that I wanted to talk about. And really, this idea that people were going to be wanting efficiency, certainty in direction from the central government. It's been warned by people for a while now that this is actually a danger to freedom, especially an economist by the name of Friedrich Hayek wrote a book called The Road to Serfdom, in which he pointed out that if you have checks and balances like these, and when there has to be debate, it really cuts down on anybody's ability to do something, to act quickly, and it could be seen that as a constraint on the government to get something good done, but in reality what it does is actually protect our freedom from power from being arbitrarily taken away by the power of the government. And he says it that basically to give away for all of us to say that the government should just act however it feels that it needs to. It would be as if a group of people were to commit themselves to take a journey together without agreeing where they want to go. The result would be that they may all have to take a journey which most of them do not want at all.
It'd be like Cal and I getting in the car with a few buddies and driving off somewhere and be like, so where are we going? I don't know.
Got a lot of gas. Where do you want to go?
2 hours later, a little low on gas. Where are we going?
Want to make a left here? Right here?
Yeah,
I don't
right
know.
here. It's like that Allstate commercial with the guy who pretends to be the GPS in the
Right.
passenger seat.
Didn't put in any info.
I'm your GPS. You don't update me, so therefore I'm just gonna wing it. And then he tells the guy, was it right or left? I can't remember. He's like, go right. Runs right into someone.
So we
Sorry.
don't exactly we don't want to be the car without the
GPS.
without the GPS, or without giving our GPS directions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said, Hayek also said, planning leads to dictatorship precisely because dictatorship is the most effective instrument of coercion in the enforcement of ideals. So if you want to coerce people into doing good things, or what the government thinks are good things, and enforce your ideals, what you're eventually going to have to do is bring in a dictatorship without these checks and balances, like what Barnett's proposing. So maybe Spitzer needs to read up on the idea of constitutional government here.
Yeah. All right, and we're running a little bit short on time for this part, so we're gonna cut here and pick up here on part 2 of this episode, and we'll see you in a bit.